Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Payson Tea Party. And we always start right on time. It is 6 o'clock. And so we're going to have Jerry come up and give us our invocation. And then, Irv, will you lead us in the flag salute? Okay? From where you are. Prayer before pledge. God before country.
She doesn't realize. Heavenly Father, we come before you with all of our heart open. We give you all of the praise and all of the glory that belongs to you and you alone. We give you thanks for the good health of all of the people in the room. We give you great thanks for the good health of all the people in our community. We lift up all of the people that are suffering from the tragedy that we've had in our country, and we thank you for the good leadership and help that is helping us get through it. We know we're doing it better than everybody else because of our love of you. We ask you to bless the evening and all of the people that are here. We thank you for the opportunity to have a forum where we invite everybody to come and participate, express their views, get along with each other, and have a wonderful evening together. We always have a wonderful evening when we keep you in our heart. We thank you for the use of your facility and the managers of it. And we think these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Shirley Dye. I am the president of the Payson Tea Party. We have been going weekly for 10 years, since 2009, until, of course, COVID hit. So anyhow, we've only been doing half a year's of meetings this year so far. And we have all kinds of, we've had most every candidate has been here. And now we're going to do this candidate forums, and I'm going to tell you about the rules so we can get started. Okay, we've got like 14 questions, 14 or 15, and we're going to give each one of our candidates up here, our current sheriff, Adam Shepard, yay, Adam Shepard, and his challenger, Chris Bender, from Downey Globe, okay, and we're going to give them 3 minutes each to open. And we flip the coin, and Adam is going to go first. And then we are going to alternate who gets the question. We have a series of questions that each one will answer the same question. Then we have a few questions. There's 4 questions that are for individual, each one of them. And then we go back to a couple of questions for each. Then they're going to have 3 minutes each. I told them to bring their pencil and paper so that if somebody says something that they would like to rebut or comment on based on one of the previous questions, they'll have 3 minutes each at the end to do that, plus 3 minutes of closing. So I will be sitting here, and we have the 1 minute left. Their questions are going to be 2 minutes each. So I'm the timer. And then we have 30 seconds each. And then we have 5 seconds each, which I'll raise the 5 seconds when we got about 7 seconds left so that they know that they better hurry up and finish and answer their question. Okay? So usually we see if we have any other elected officials in the room. Let us see. Jim Ferris? Where is he? Oh! He doesn't have his hat on. I didn't recognize him. Jim Ferris is a Payson Town Councilor. We have candidate for Treasurer Monica, stand up Monica Woolforth. Monica Woolforth. She's down from Globe, so many of you that came up from Globe already know her too. And she's been up here speaking to our Tea Party group. I'm on the Sanitary District Board, just so you know, so as an elected official. So, anyhow, I want to introduce to you one of our board members. which is Frank Pacino, and he's going to be our moderator tonight. And then we have Connie Pacino, she's our treasurer. And I don't see George. So anyhow, several of our board members over the past years have gotten pretty ill and are not able to attend a lot of our meetings. So with that, we will take it from there. And Frank, you're on. Oh, before Frank gets on, they're going to give their opening. Okay, Adam, you won the flip. You have 3 minutes. Wait, I got to sit down and get my timer.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go!
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out to listen to both of us this evening. We appreciate it. As Shirley said, my name is Adam Shepard. I have been your sheriff for the last 2 terms since 2012, and I'm running for a 3rd term. My time here in the county is really what I think is the most important. I have a few other things I'll mention, but 35 years with the sheriff's office this year that I have spent, I think gives me a pretty good idea of how things should go, what works and what doesn't. Throughout that time, I was an NRA firearms instructor. That was just a couple of years after I started. I got that certification and started teaching. Also an Arizona Post instructor. I taught in the academy. I taught new recruits the job. I was a certified emergency paramedic for 24 years. While I was on the job, I actually carried a drug box, a defibrillator, and all those things to provide those services out in the field, and also serve the county as a underwater diver. My formal education, graduated right here in Payson from high school. I went to Northwestern University for a certificate in police management, and I have a bachelor's degree from NAU for public service, and my major is in public administration. So with all of those things combined with a long time of service to this community, knowing the ins and outs of what's going on and the folks in the community, I think that I'm pretty well suited to serve you another 4 years to continue with the good projects that we've started at the Sheriff's Office and continue to, 1 minute is apparently what I've got, so I don't think I'll even belabor it any further. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Hello everybody, thank you for attending and taking time out of your evening to listen to your candidates again. We greatly appreciate it. Unfortunately, the Healy County Sheriff's Office has some serious issues that demand some serious solutions. The county needs someone capable of tackling these problems head on without hesitation. And I believe that I am the person that is best suited to handle these problems. I'm a United States Air Force veteran with 18 years of law enforcement experience, having served as a military police officer, supervisor in the 7th Security Forces Division out of Abilene, Texas. I was a deputy sheriff in the state of Missouri and a deputy sheriff for the Healy County Sheriff's Office between 2006 and 2013. From there, I moved on to the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police Department, where I served as a patrol supervisor and also became certified through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. After that, I currently serve right now as the patrol supervisor for the town of Miami. I'm running as a conservative Democrat, but I will be a constitutional sheriff, strictly following and protecting the supreme law of our great nation. The United States Constitution was not established as a Republican law or a Democratic law. It is the supreme law, which has no political view, or should have no political view, especially with this office. I am pro Second Amendment. what police officer who carries a gun for 8 to 12 hours a day is not pro-Second Amendment? I'm a member of the NRA, and I support our President Donald J. Trump. I'm married to my wife Carolyn, who is here tonight. Love her a lot. We have a 1.5-year-old son, Isaac, who thinks he's 4 years old. Keeps me very busy. We live in the town of Miami with plans to purchase some land and build a home in the near future. Gila County is my home, and I want to bring the needed change that is needed to the Gila County Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Okay, Adam, since you won the coin flip, you'll be the first question. What is the primary function of the Sheriff's Office?
Primary function, of course, is defined by law. The Arizona State Constitution defines the offices, the county offices within each county, and the Constitution is what, state Constitution is what actually sets the office up. And then the state law gives the duties and powers to those county offices and those county people that are elected to office. The sheriff's office, or the sheriff's responsibilities, is of course to enforce the laws, to conduct search and rescue, to keep the jail, to serve the Superior Court, and all of those jobs can also be augmented by using members of the public in the county in which the sheriff serves. So, for instance, which is kind of a neat part of that particular statute, one of the few of them that have that ability, is to take posses and to take search and rescue groups and things throughout the county and have us, and to help the sheriffs in the state to perform all the duties that they are required to do by law. So it's kind of a neat job to have. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and like I said, I hope that you give me another chance to serve you. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, same question. What is the primary function of the Sheriff's Office?
The primary function of the Sheriff's Office is to protect the United States Constitution and to serve strictly the United States Constitution. The Sheriff is a constitutional officer, and his office is solely set to enforce and to follow that Constitution. With that, you have different divisions that are set up that the Sheriff's Office are responsible for. The Sheriff himself, like Adam said, are set by Arizona Revised Statute, where the Sheriff has the authority and the power to, and responsibility to the state and the county to run or maintain a jail, civil service, and law enforcement needs within the unincorporated areas of the county. I would say after the United States Constitution is being strictly followed and enforced, the next and the primary duties of the Sheriff's Office is to serve the citizens. The citizens, it's the Citizen Sheriff's Office. It's Gila County Sheriff's Office, and it's there for the citizens, and the Sheriff is elected by those citizens. So besides the United States Constitution being the primary focus of the Sheriff, the next focus should be the citizens and the community themselves. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, this one's for you. What large agency experience do you have in the leadership role, and what are your strengths in creating policies and procedures?
I would have to say it's a very, very large agency, and it's the United States Air Force. Again, I served for the 7th Security Forces Squadron as a military police supervisor. During my whole time in the military, from start to finish. A lot of military veterans will understand once you go from one rank to the next, you have some type of supervision skills. But strictly when it comes to law enforcement, from there it would be to small squads to different divisions within the United States military. I was responsible, at my base we had B-1 bombers and C-130s there, and approximately $7 billion worth of military assets at Dice Air Force Base there. When it came to trying to do any type of policy and procedures there, that's set by the United States military and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So unless I got some stars on my shoulder, I don't think I could affect the policies or the changes with that, but I have had experience when it comes to policy and procedures. Actually, as of right now, we are currently still trying to change the policy and procedures for the current department I work for. The town of Miami has a 1985 policy and procedure manual, and we're trying to get that more updated and current. So I am currently working on policy and procedures, and from there I'm basically the patrol commander, patrol supervisor for the entire department of the town of Miami.
Okay, Adam, same question. What large agency experience do you have in a leadership role, and what are your strengths in creating policies and procedures?
Well, that's a pretty easy one, and I think everybody in this room already knows it. Sheriff's Office is the biggest organization I've worked for my adult life. I started out at 18 years old, volunteering to the local police department. That's what got me started in law enforcement, and I was certified through that process. Strengths in policies and procedures. Unfortunately, we had a similar situation for many years over at the Sheriff's Office that Chris mentioned, and that a lot of policies were kind of gone by the wayside, kind of getting a little stale. One of the things that we did when we came in with our administration was to tackle that problem. One of the projects that we put together really early on was to go to a nationally reviewed policy and procedure system that is standardized across, well, in this case, Arizona, because it has to do with Arizona law. What's interesting about that policy and procedure setup that we've got is that when the law changes out there somewhere, and they constantly do, depending on what it is, those updates are immediately sent to the officers for them to approve and to understand that there's already been a change in the law as far as policies and procedures are concerned. All of these policies and procedures are law-based. They actually refer to the law or the decision, the court decision that they have to deal with. And so they're all peer-reviewed, and they're all reviewed by attorneys that are used to doing this type of work. We're very proud of that system. It's very good. It's a pretty thick book. We require all of our folks to read it and not only to sign off of it, make sure that they understand what they're reading, but to look at those periodic updates as well. Thank you.
Okay. Adam,
Yes, back to me.
what are the current challenges for the Sheriff's Office, and what should take place to correct or solve these issues?
Well, I think, and those of you that have heard me talk about this, I've talked to this group on the radio all over the place because this question gets asked a lot. So I'll tell you that it's simply the size of this county. This is a huge county, 4,700 square miles plus. Most people know, if you've heard a county official speak on the subject, that there's very little of that area in Gila County that's taxable. And of course, that's how we pay for services like that, is through taxes. So when you're running an agency on 3% of taxes collected on 3% of your land mass, it's kind of difficult to be able to get a big enough staff and to service that entire area. I can tell you, there's over 50 small communities on our back roads and things, and this does not include Payson Pine, Strawberry, Star Valley, any of those. Just north of the dam, just counting, go north of the dam for all of the areas where people live, the small communities that are dispersed throughout the county. It's a very big challenge to try to get law enforcement to those areas, to get officers out there. Our strategy, of course, is and has been to centrally locate those officers to where they can be as close to them as they can. There's no possible way to have somebody in each and every one of those communities every single day at every moment. So that's a struggle, it's a challenge, and it's very difficult to deal with. And the best thing you can do is try to put your officers in the places that you know there's going to be some issues historically, which is what we've been doing with putting together our computer system, is trying to find out what is the most next likely call that the officers are going to go on and put them as close as we can to that. Thank you.
Hey Chris, the same question. What are the current challenges for the Sheriff's Office, and what should take place to correct or solve these issues?
Stand by. No, sorry. I feel the biggest challenge that I would have if elected into that position, or the current situation in the Sheriff's Office, is reconnecting with the citizens and the trust of the citizens to the Sheriff's Office. Again, I worked at the Sheriff's Office from 2006 to 2013. At the current time, Adam was the undersheriff, and we both worked for John Armour at the time. And at that time, when I worked there, the morale was great. It seemed like there was a better working relationship with the community. Deputies were being seen more into the communities at that time, and staffing appeared to be a lot better than it was now. Even the overall financial situation in the Sheriff's Office from a deputy's perspective seemed like it was being managed more correctly. So from there, after reconnecting with that, has to go to staffing. And staffing results from mismanagement of funds within the Sheriff's Office and the morale of the Sheriff's Office. So to reach the original goal of reconnecting with the citizens and the people who we serve and the people who vote the sheriff into office, is to again reconnect, and that's reflected by all the other issues that are there, with mismanagement of funds to staffing, and that's it. Thank you.
Hey Chris, this one's for you. How many deputies serve in our county? That's the first part. Second part, how will you work to recruit and retain new officers and make sure they have reliable equipment and vehicles?
When I worked for the Sheriff's Office, we had approximately 3 squads in the Southern District and 3 squads in the Northern District. Each squad at a good time should have 5 deputies on each squad, 3 sergeants, and then a patrol lieutenant for the Southern District and a patrol lieutenant for the Northern District. So on a good day, for patrol-wise that are going to be serving the community, you would have approximately 30 deputies for the county, 15 for the Southern District and 50 for the Northern District. And then you can't forget about the Lake District. At one time they had a good sized crew there at the lake. From there, I would have to say it goes to retention, comes back to morale of the Sheriff's Office. I know from having worked there, when I worked there, there is no deputies, maybe a handful, 2 or 3 that are patrol sergeants or a lieutenant now, that worked there when I worked there. They have gone and left and went to other agencies and adjacent agencies. That's an issue, because if there's an issue that, if there's a reason while they're leaving, there has to be something that's there that they don't want to stay. And that boils down to not being treated and respected as an employee. And that affects the county and the citizens. So when it comes to retention, I think the first thing is to treat your people well and to get the morale up at the sheriff's office. So then the retention can be there with service for the people, and then you can focus on bonuses or ways to keep them there with shifts and other issues like that. So thank you.
Same question, Adam. How many deputies serve in our county, and how will you work to recruit and retain new officers and make sure they have reliable equipment and vehicles?
Well, I can tell you, our current complement, and this is actually positions that are authorized, and keeping in mind that we usually run about 10% short in pretty much all of the divisions within the office. We're authorized for 32 officers, we're authorized for 8 supervisors, we're authorized for 5 detectives, and then the rest is the command staff. So that's what we are current complement. If we could be 100%, I can tell you that we reached that goal one time since we've been here through our recruitment processes and things like that. It's very difficult to do because, as I remind people, it takes an officer just a few minutes, whatever their circumstances, whatever it is, to decide that they either want to go and work someplace else or to retire. Or it also, then it takes us at least 18 months to replace that person. So that's why we're always kind of playing catch up with that. Unless we can find somebody that wants to come from another agency as a lateral, those are great. They're fantastic. We really relish those when they come in because the expensive part of that training is already done. Unfortunately, when we bring somebody on brand spanking new, that's a big expense to the county that we strive to try to keep the person on. But I can tell you right now, the compensation package for the employees of the county is all set through the board. We go to the board every year with our requests if we want to try and raise the officers or the percentages, and then the board and the county manager decides whether or not they have the funds to do that. That really isn't anything you can do internally. Your entire budget is completely set by the Board of Supervisors before the year starts. Thanks.
Okay, Adam, this is for you.
Oh, okay, look. You need to take that call, Shirley?
It's not a call.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right.
What is your plan to deal with the increase in crime, drugs, and homelessness? And if detained, would you turn illegals over to ICE?
Okay, what was the first part of the question again? I'm not sure I answered her.
What is your plan to deal with the increase in crime, drugs, and homelessness?
And the second part was?
And if detained, would you turn illegal aliens over to ICE?
Okay. All right. Our plan continues to deal with crime, drug, homelessness. A lot of these issues come from the drug issues. If you've heard me talk about this, I've talked about it a lot. We find that a lot of our problems in the communities are tied to the drug trade in some form or fashion. It's either somebody that's overdosed, or that's got a drug problem, or it's something that's connected to the drug trade in some way. So that's why we emphasize the enforcement of drugs, even though we have a very small group that's paid for on our task force. We actually do so well on that, using those funds, that we got a little bit of an increase, and sometimes we do get a little bit of an increase because we work so hard at it. So that we will continue to fight that, all the connected drugs, the connected crime that you have with drugs along those lines. Now, detaining people. Absolutely every call that we have, you have to remember in the state of Arizona, you have to have a crime to be able to even ask somebody about their resident status for a police officer. We tried 1070, it didn't go over, so here we are. This is what we've got. So once we find that out, if we have some suspicions, if they don't have a place of residence, if they don't, there's some things going on that kind of tips us in that direction, we will contact ICE. It happens in every case. And then it's up to ICE, of course, from then on to do. Number one, they will have to determine whether they are actually here legally, and then what they do decide to do depending on what the circumstances are. Thanks.
Same question to you, Chris. What is your plan to deal with the increase in crime, drugs, and homelessness, and to detain which you turn illegal aliens over to ICE?
I'll start with this. I'll go right back to connecting with the citizens in the community. I have the vision of getting more connected with the community and the citizens, because the community and the citizens have almost more knowledge than a lot of your street cops of what's going on in their neighborhood. And you need to have a sheriff and his command staff that has an open mind to be able to reach out to the citizens and accept what they want to tell you and give you that advice and have those connections with the citizens to help you work hand in hand to solve the crime, the drug issues, and even the homeless issues. Because it's all one team together as the whole county in the whole. And so I want to incorporate community roundtables and have that connection where I'm going to reach out to the citizens to help solve these. The sheriff himself or the sheriff's office themselves cannot solve all this by themselves. It's not going to happen without the help of the citizens. And you need somebody that has the mindset to be able to set aside their pride or whatever it is and say, hey, let's reach out to the community members that know their areas, their own communities, and let's see what drug issues or crime issues are in those areas. They have any ideas that can help us, and we're going to solve these issues together. When it comes to any type of ICE or deportation stuff, if it's warranted, they're going to be deported or released to ICE. If it falls under statute and was allowable by law. Thank you.
This is for you, Chris. How would you respond to mandates if they contradict state or U.S. constitutional law and or jurisdiction? Examples would be red flag laws or armed federal force rangers.
This goes, I guess I had a lot of dealings with this when I worked for the San Carlos Apache tribe, and there's a lot of jurisdictional type of laws where it's if you have non-tribal members and tribal members, and when it came to either expediting them off of the reservation or enforcing certain type of state laws, it goes back to the United States Constitution. It's strictly going to be set by that and what's regulated by the United States Constitution. If the United States Constitution is written and to be read and enforced by the way that it's written, and I believe that you should not sway from that or have, again, a Republican or a Democratic view of that Constitution. So I guess when it goes to you're stating about the U.S. or the Forest Service officers, it's basically like being a tribal or a federal officer as well. But ultimately, the sheriff within his own county is the highest law enforcement officer in his county. He is a constitutional officer, and he has the most authority in his own county. Thank you.
Same question to you, Adam. How would you respond to mandates if they contradict state or U.S. constitutional law and or jurisdiction? And the example would be the red flag laws and the Armed Federal Forest Rangers.
Well, some of you heard the talk that I gave in front of this very group. I think it was before COVID, though, so maybe it's slipping our minds, but specifically about the red flag laws when they were trying to pass the last one that we're going on. And I'll just use it as an example. I would like to base my answer on that. Is that the problem with them, and it continues to be, is they want to violate your right to due process. That's the problem with them. They want to be able to take property from you without a hearing, without you being able to give your side of the story, and take things away from you that you have a right by the Constitution to have. That's a problem with me. That's not anything. I work for you. I don't work for anybody that might be saying that. So nobody's going to be able to tell me that that's what I should be doing, is violating a clearly established law that goes way back to the framers of our Constitution and the intent of that due process, that you would have the opportunity before anything is taken from you, your freedom, your property, or anything else like that, that you have an opportunity to say your piece and to make your case. That it bugs me. I know that a lot of you have had some very heated and passionate, maybe passionate's a better word than heated, discussions with you about these things, but until they can figure out if that's what's going to happen, they will have to figure out that with anything that's passed in the legislature or in Congress, to make sure that it follows the Constitution that you are protected under, and you've been protected under since day one. That's what I'm here to do. Thanks. Quite a nice little tune.
Well, he's the unofficial, he's keeping me on track. But he's having as much trouble turning on the sound as I am.
He's the backup.
Okay, this is for you, Adam.
When my battery runs low.
Okay, Adam, are you ready to denounce Antifa and Black Lives Matter and declare them domestic terrorists? How will you defend Gila County?
Well, I can tell you that I've already denounced that stuff. I can tell you that one of the proudest days of my life was when I came up here and there was supposed to be some kind of a rally, and citizens, the county citizens had come out to deal with that issue. And when I come up there, of course, our officers are well aware if we have some prior knowledge. Of course, we get intelligence reports on those things and be ready for those types of things. But when you walk in there and you see people from the community that are defending their community and keeping that kind of stuff out, maybe they see what's going on in other places and they don't want that to happen here. So all the preparation in the world that I could do, is nothing compared to what the citizens of the community not only can do, but has done and has proven already. So, like I said, it was quite refreshing to see that people are taking responsibility. Whether that happens in other places and it's allowed to go on, I think the citizens have made the statement that they're not interested in that happening here. And so, and of course, back them up all the way. I was very glad to see that type of community come together and say, we're not interested in having that here. So not only thank you to everybody who listened to my answer, but everybody that was out there that day, because I thought that was quite a show that that type of thing wasn't going to be appreciated. Thanks.
Same question to you, Chris. Are you ready to denounce Antifa and Black Lives Matter and declare them domestic terrorists? And how will you defend Gila County?
When it comes to Antifa, I, just like the President Donald J. Trump, classified them as a terrorist group. I agree with that. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, it comes down to the United States Constitution. Again, freedom of speech. But when it comes to this, there's a fine line where it goes to allowing freedom of speech or exercising your constitutional rights and just pure chaos or just blatant disrespect for the law. And so what I mean by this is if that would happen or anything like that would happen, I would not support any type of disarray or any type of rallying, whether it's Black Lives Matter or just a regular event. As soon as it goes to becoming disorderly or property damage or violent, I would take immediate and swift action with my staff to make sure that it's corrected. But at the same time, it's really great that, again, Adam said that the community comes out at that same time to be there, and you have to support the community when it comes to those events or protests or gatherings. And so it's kind of a fine line when it comes to that. But again, I'm a constitutional officer. His position is a constitutional sheriff, so he needs to make sure that the United States Constitution is followed strictly. Thank you.
Chris, how is the lack of resilient broadband affecting the operations of the sheriff's office? Part 2, how much time is lost when broadband goes out, and what do you do to provide backup service?
When it comes to this, I mean, it comes down to, I know the sheriff's office did go to computers in their vehicles. At the time when I was there with Adam, and he was under sheriff, we didn't have computers in our cars. But that's a major issue. It still becomes a major issue for the county, and trying to reach out to have those type of radio services or those broadband capabilities for the computers within the vehicles, and just to connect the deputies when they go into those rural areas of either Pine or Strawberry is a main concern of the sheriff's office. And I believe that reaching out to providers or to personnel that could help the sheriff's office to give the capability of keeping those broadbands or widening those broadbands to allow the sheriff's office to communicate better with their staff in remote areas and within even just the downtown areas of Payson or the Globe Miami area. And again, reaching out to people that could help broaden that for us. Thank you.
Okay, Adam, same question. How is the lack of resilient broadband affecting the operations of the sheriff's office, and how much time is lost when broadband goes out, and what do you do to provide backup service?
Okay, so first part of the question, lack of broadband. I think it's probably obvious to folks that live, of course, in Rim Country that we have had some broadband outages issues. As a matter of fact, we just had one not too long ago. Unfortunately, like Chris said, the computers in the cars, but also our communication centers are all linked by commercial internet. Now, so once that plug is pulled, backhoe digs through it. We just had one down in Globe, as a matter of fact, they've been dealing with today, where a rat ate through the fiber. So anyway, and that kind of put us down for a good portion of the day. So the redundancy, and I'll go do the redundancy part and then come back to this, because what we have done in partnering with Department of Public Safety is we have a separate system that doesn't rely on commercial broadband just to talk to the officers and to talk back between north and south. The problem with that is, of course, is that doesn't carry people's phone calls. So as was the example on the wreck that was south of town where folks couldn't call in and they couldn't get to the dispatcher, if the dispatcher had known that something was going on, they could have sent somebody down there because that was not affected by the outage. But we know that your phone calls, your internet traffic, things that you might want to try to send is. Now what we've been trying to do is obviously I can't do anything with my budget or anything to affect that. It's a very large problem to get redundancy in here. But we have lent our voices to all of the folks in the county that are trying to fix the problem and helping them to understand what kind of public issue that it is when this goes down. So got a lot, we could talk about that all night. Thank you.
Next question for you, Adam. How will you handle recreational marijuana if Proposition 207 is passed? And are there problems now due to medical marijuana?
Well, okay, so the first one was the 207. I haven't supported any effort to legalize marijuana in the state of Arizona for the simple fact that here's some of the inherent problems with it, and I think you should know this. How long have we been dealing, for instance, with drinking and driving? Long time, back before any of us can remember. So it takes us all that time up till now, and there's still loopholes in it, to determine how drunk you have to be able to be charged, what is a presumptive level, and so forth and so on. But we got a pretty good handle on it as long as everything goes according to plan, but things always change. I can tell you, as of currently in the science of marijuana intoxication, there's absolutely no way to figure that out. There's no presumptive level we can come up with. The only thing that you can do with a blood test or trying to determine that in somebody's system is to get a level of the metabolite. So that says at some point this person did ingest this substance and now their body is trying to neutralize it. So that's what we're measuring in that case, not how high they are or what they did, with their ability to operate machinery or to make decisions and things like that. This is the inherent problem with this one that we can see coming around the bend. It's already been in states that have legalized it because there is no way to determine these things. So what do you say? You missed 1 minute, but that's because you're so interested in what I've got to say. So what is it, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that? Anyway, that's, so that's what we're concerned about. A lot of law enforcement, a lot of the sheriffs are unanimous against it for these reasons, as far as being able to come into a wreck and somebody has been, had this ingested into their system. How do we say to them, okay, well, first of all, you can't even set the presumptive level, so how do you even measure for that? So thank you. A lot of other problems too.
Yeah.
Same question, Chris. How will you handle recreational marijuana if Prop 207 is passed, and are there problems now due to medical marijuana?
When it comes to the making marijuana legal, I think that you need to get ahead of the curve on it. I think that it's coming, whether people like it or not. I believe that if it's passed to be legalized, you need to be above and ahead of the game with it when it comes to that you're going to be taking the enforcement action that's set by this state. So what I'm saying there is when it does come into effect, I believe the sheriff's office or the deputies need to be well educated when it comes to what type of enforcement action is going to be acceptable and what's not when it comes to it. Again, if it goes from there to being federally allowed, then it's just going to be the same as alcohol, basically. When it comes to medicinal marijuana, there's mandates that are set forth, like other states that have it there. They have certain laws that are basically just like the consumption of alcohol. So you have your mandates that are there, and you have to have a certain age and whether it's medicinal or recreational, there's going to be set laws on it, and you're there to enforce those laws. Basically just like alcohol. You have a lot of people that are against alcohol or who have lost loved ones because of alcohol-related offenses or accidents, but it's there. So you have to take the enforcement action that's there with it. And some people might not agree that alcohol should be allowed, but again, it's allowable, and so the sheriff's office and the deputies need to be well trained to enforce and regulate the use of alcohol or marijuana. Thank you.
And now we have a couple of personal questions for just the candidates by themselves. Okay, Chris, we have this question for you. Your Arizona Peace Officer Standards and Training Certification was recently suspended for 6 months while working with the San Carlos PD. Why? And why were you suspended from the Miami PD for perjury? And do you still live in Apache Junction?
Okay, so the first, it wasn't recently suspended. I did have my post go to the Arizona Police Officers Commission, and I actually signed a consent agreement to get that out of the way. It did have to stem from when I worked at the San Carlos Apache tribe regarding taking a juvenile home to an area where she was supposed to be dropped off, and she wasn't dropped off at the family member's house. She was supposed to be taken to the family member's house, but come to find out it wasn't a family member's house that she was dropped off at. At that time, there was a lot of tribal politics that got involved with it, and but currently, that's to the wayside. My wife is a San Carlos Apache tribal member, and I haven't been a letter from the Human Resource Division of the San Carlos Apache tribe. Her name is Esther Stevens, and it states in there that I was, harassed, intimidated, threatened by staff of the police department there. And so I was currently endorsed by the San Carlos tribal entity, and when it comes to suspension with the Miami Police Department, no, there was no suspension. I believe there was some shitty politics that got involved with that, and a complaint was filed on me by a current deputy's wife that works for Adamir, and I was cleared from that, and it was totally unsustained, and I was never suspended or any charges of perjury or any of that. So if anybody has any direct questions or would like to see any of those documents, message me on Facebook or in person. I'll come show you those documents to show everything is cleared up. Thank you.
This is for Adam.
Yes.
If you found that one of your employees was in possession of pornography on their work computer or displaying other unethical behavior, how would you handle it, and would you forward it to the Arizona Peace Officer Standards and Training?
Well, there's a very clear law, a statute in the state of Arizona on how you have to deal with police misconduct. You can't just go in willy-nilly, and it's called the Arizona Peace Officers Bill of Rights. It is a stretch of things, the way you have to conduct an investigation. So every complaint, whether it be ethics, whether it be violation of law, violation of policy, starts with that process. So as that continues on, you have to have people that are trained, of course, how to do that, how not to make a misstep in doing that. And then when it comes down to the end and all the sides have been looked at and whoever, all of the evidence has been collected, everybody's say has been done, then you render a decision, whether that be a reprimand, whether you give them time off, or of course the most serious is termination. So these are the choices that you have as a police administrator in the state of Arizona. You really don't have a choice when it comes to reporting that to the state agency, especially if they are terminated. That report goes directly to the state agency and why they were terminated. or disciplined, and then of course that they take it up at the council there at the state level as to whether that person retains their certification or not. So it's a very lengthy process, very regimented. We used to just be able to have detectives or even supervisors sometimes look into some of these matters. Now it's a completely different thing, completely structured by law, and gives the officer a fair chance to be able to defend themselves if they've been accused of wrongdoing. So it's, like I said, it's a kind of involved process, and it's rather lengthy. But that's it. Thanks.
The second one is for you, Adam.
Okay.
With the issues facing the jail and civil rights violations alleged, would it be a good idea to have an independent agency do an audit, including policies and procedures, before the federal government comes and places the county under a federal consent decree?
We always invite people into the agency. As a matter of fact, these policies and procedures that are currently in effect at the jail are peer-reviewed by the entire state of Arizona. You have to remember that we're answering to another different authority sometimes too when it comes to things that have high liability, like jails, for instance. And that is our insurance pool. The county has it's just like if you buy insurance for your car or your home, the county has insurance when things like this are alleged to happen either on county grounds or by county officials. So once those come up, those folks pretty much take over that investigation. We don't have a whole heck of a lot to do with it at that point. It's usually done by an independent party, and it's also reviewed by the county's insurance pool to determine what actually did happen, say if there was some wrongdoing, what would that what's a fair thing to settle for that, so forth and so on. So really, when it comes to those issues where you get sued, different from where you're going out and you're enforcing the law, that goes to a whole other branch of what the government's come together and made this pool up in the state of Arizona. And those are the folks that deal with those issues from that point on. The policies and procedures are strongly influenced by those folks, I can tell you right now, because they don't like being sued. And so this is continually updated in our jails as we go along, because again, laws change, circumstances change, and things go along with that. So it's kind of a continual process, and we of course continue to do it for of the county. I think we go out. Hello. Thank you.
Okay, this last one's for you, Chris. Personal question. You describe yourself as a conservative Democrat. Considering today's Democrats' position of failure to put down riots, removing cash bonds so the criminals can immediately go free, and plans to defund the police, how will it affect your leadership decisions?
I have old school traditions. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party were established for this great nation. I was raised in old school morals. My mother and my father were traditional Southern Democrats, but again, I'm a conservative Democrat, and I have the same views as a lot of great citizens of this nation. Again, pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, and I will speak on pro-life. I actually was asked a question in regards to it, and again, I support our current president, Donald J. Trump, and I'm an American. It doesn't matter whether it's a conservative Democrat or a conservative Republican. I am a United States military veteran, proud conservative, and I'm about serving the citizens of Gila County. Thank you.
Okay, this is to both of you. This would be Chris. What is the current status and future goals for the canine officers in Gila County?
more canines. I wanted to be a canine officer when I worked with Adam, but wasn't given the opportunity. I believe canines are one of the best resources that an agency can use. I did go through a lot of canine training when I was in the United States Air Force. I worked a lot with the kennel master there, and as a newbie, unfortunately, you have to do a lot of the bad duties of canine duties. So you got to get bit and wear hot suits and clean up the kennels and feed the dogs, and I did a lot of that. But unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to be a canine officer. But I'd like to get a lot of them more on the road if we can. I know that they're very expensive, the canine units themselves, and just the overall training for them. So I highly support them, and whatever resources I can get to get more of them, whether it's grants or retaining the ones we have, I'm for them. And retention of those officers are well. If we have those officers, retaining them, whether it's an incentive to keep them there, or to even get prior or lateral experienced canine handlers to come work for the sheriff's office.
Same question to you, Adam. What is the current status and future goals for the canine officers in Gila County?
Well, let me kind of tell you how the K9 program works at the office. Around the state, the different agencies have different things that they like to not only specialize in, but kind of keep running for the benefit of the area. And this just happens to be ours. This happens to be the Sheriff's Office. We've constantly had a K9 group in place throughout, ever since I've worked there. We continue with that tradition, of course. And Chris said dogs are expensive. Let me tell you, a dog, before you even start the training, put him together with a handler, runs about 15 to 20 grand. So that it's not a pound animal. It's not something you bring from home, or it has to be specially selected, trained, the right kind of breed, the whole shooting match. It's a big deal. But it's always been a tradition of the Sheriff's Office to keep that program in place and to keep officers assigned to dogs, to where other agencies, surrounding agencies, when they need a dog to come out and help them with the situation, the things that dogs provide, we have one that's available and that can get over to them. So we're proud of the project. We've kept it alive for a long time. Of course, it takes us some time if we lose a dog. By the way, we're going to be having a service this week for a dog that we recently lost, and that we'll be replacing as soon as we can afford to and find the right dog, because that project is so important to us, and to be able to provide those services. Where it's really neat to watch them, I hope that you've attended some of the trainings and some of the demonstrations. It's also neat to watch them go through, like for instance, some of the schools will ask us to come over and sniff lockers and things like that. It's a great program. I hope you get an opportunity when you see them come through town to go to a demonstration and see what these animals can do. It's flat amazing. It amazes me. Thank you very much.
Last question. This is to Adam. You have mentioned that with more budget, you could buy more equipment, hire more deputies, and pay our deputies more. You have also reported how volunteer hours save Gila County a lot of money. With the near collapse of the Payson posse about 3 years ago, and nearly half of the posse, including all the females, walking out with a great reduction of volunteer man hours and taxpayer savings compared to what they could have been, why haven't you done something over the last 3 years to save and revigorate the Payson posse?
Well, thank you for that question. Here's something that I don't know that everybody understands or not. Pretty much these posses are standalone entities. So we don't fund them. They fundraise on their own. They get their own money. They have their own internal structure, so they have a commander there. We have one commander from the group of all the posses in the county that report to us. That's to make sure that they're following county policy and so forth. Everything else, all the rest of their internal structure is something that's completely up to them to set up. We were very dismayed at the upset of the posse, but I can tell you that it was an internal strife thing. We have tried to help them to recruit new people to bring into the organization. We want to see them thrive because we use them. We use them almost all the time for for issues about having security out in the county, someplace where we might need them to watch a scene, might need them to watch a prisoner, might need them to transfer a prisoner, might need to transport somebody to a mental health facility or something like that, and they provide all of these services. Everywhere we go, we try to recruit for them and to help them get more members. But as far as their internal structure and things, and their finances, by the way, too, we have nothing to do with that. It is all through the groups, and they actually become deputy sheriffs for the purposes of whatever it is they're formed for. In the case of search and rescue, it's Tom Ren that you know about in the northern half. They have all that structure taken care of by themselves, and they fund it and the whole shooting match. So it's very dismal when they have internal strife. We try to help them with that if it's all possible, but sometimes folks have differences and that occurs. So thank you.
Last question goes to Chris. It's a two-parter. What would you do to reinvigorate the Payson Posse to increase the volunteer man hours and resilient savings to Gila County? And why is there so much difference between Globe and Payson Posses?
That is so awesome that you answered that question came up, because I was going to use my whole closing to go into that. The posse is yours. It's part of the sheriff's office, Adam. That's your posse. You're saying it's somebody else's posse, it's your posse. You set that, you established that, you have the authority to deputize citizens, and that's basically almost what you're doing. If something happens and it comes to needing to use citizens, for example, what you were saying with Antifa or Black Lives Matter, that's when the posse would come out and you would deputize them. I am very for the Payson, the Gila County posse. That's a part of again, I'm there for community-orientated programs, and the posse, that's one of the main parts of the sheriff's office. He needs to be actively recruiting people, not just letting it go to the wayside. I would be out there getting people and having people saying, come join my posse, come join this, and giving his resources to that. If they're having financial problems or they don't have their own money, that's part of your division, that's yours. The posse is yours. It's not the citizens' posse, it's the sheriff's office posse. It's, I don't know if I'm on a tangent on that, but I support and want a very active posse for the entire county. And if it needs to be one of the primary focuses of this area, I will do that. Thank you.
That completes our questions. Now, before your closing statements, you have an opportunity to further address any previous question directed to you or to your opponent. And that would be Chris to begin with.
Okay, first of all, I'll go back to this. I live in the town of Miami.
3 minutes.
Okay, take off 5 seconds. Take off 5 seconds real quick. 10 seconds. Okay, 10 seconds lost. Okay, again, I live in the town of Miami. I work in the town of Miami. I'm a supervisor there. My son is down in Miami right now, and I guess it was a question asked about me living in Apache Junction. I've never lived in Apache Junction in my life. If I was going to live in the area, it probably would be Gilbert or something, or Mesa, or not Apache Junction. Not, if anybody's from Apache Junction, sorry, just don't care for that area. When it goes to this, I do have a question for Adam. And Adam, were you recently just served a lawsuit?
This is your 3 minutes. Do you want me to take up your 3 minutes?
I'm just asking because, Okay. I would like to do a debate here, but, so yes, I heard that, I wanted to bring this up because he talks about resources and money and budgetary issues and lawsuits and so forth, and there are, I know, 2 lawsuits that have been filed against his administration, and it reflects to the mismanagement of the jail. And these 2 lawsuits are major lawsuits because these affect the citizens. This money doesn't, he talks about an insurance pool, and that money and taxes come from the citizens. You recently had a lawsuit that was just served on Adam Shepard. I believe it was for close to $500,000 for a violation of constitutional rights, 8th Amendment. You can go look that up at ABC 15 News. There's a huge article that's been done by it multiple times. And the next major one is a wrongful death in the detention center. That was a $2 million lawsuit filed. That's digging deep into people's pockets. That's where there's no money that can be utilized because the Board of Supervisors is cutting his budget because of all these lawsuits. These lawsuits affect the county. It affects everything. And a lot of this stuff isn't known by the Northern District because there's always a Northern and Southern District type of, you don't know what's going down south or what's going on up north. And that's one thing I want to fix is to try to mend that information and stuff that's going there. So that's where it goes to transparency and accountability. These are major issues that are happening that need to be resolved.
Adam, you have 3 minutes. Starting.
Do you want to have him to reply to that and then he can do his questions and answer?
It could be part of my 3 minutes, that's fine. There's no reason to belabor it any further.
Okay,
Just tell me when you're ready to start.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, so lawsuits are pretty much a usual occurrence when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to government, because folks think the government has a big, deep pocket that they can get into. I've been sued. I know Chris made a big point to say Adam Shepard's been sued. Here's the situation. I'm named in pretty much any lawsuit that has to do with anything that happens in the criminal justice system and law enforcement part of the county. I'm not the legal entity for the county. Of course, the county Board of Supervisors is the legal entity. They're the ones, of course, that are sued in the long run. I stopped counting at 25. Let me tell you why. Because when you are dealing with somebody's freedom and when you are dealing with somebody's constitutionally protected things that are out there that officers have to do, it's very simple to make a mistake. Now, when Chris mentioned some numbers, if you know anything about lawsuits, you know that people ask for a lot of money up front, and then it takes a long time to decide what, if at all, if there's any award at all, if there's actually any award that's appropriate in those cases. Those are all done by the courts, of course, and as I said, are the people that act for the county's attorneys is the insurance pool. So these things happen all the time. I defy anybody to ever say that they can completely avoid being sued. There isn't any possibility of that. I've been in business before I was in government. We got sued a lot in business because, again, people thought that we had a whole heck of a lot of money and that they could get a piece of it. I can't help that. That's a fact of life. You can sue anybody for anything at any time and for any reason in this country. That is one of our freedoms. So it's going to continue on. It's not going to change. All I can tell you is that everything is managed in a good, efficient, effective manner going forward. And if there is a mistake made, and I'm not saying that there's never a mistake made in law enforcement, We look at that mistake, we look at the policies and procedures around it, we see if that person needs discipline, up to including termination. We see if maybe there's a procedure that caused something bad to happen that we need to change. Those are the things that's management, that's leadership, that's how you fix a problem when you find it. Being able to sit down and anticipate every single problem that can come up in this business, I can tell you, is completely impossible. Big agencies can't do it, they got a lot of money, they got a lot of lawyers. Small agencies can't do it either because it's just too dynamic and ever-changing. So we deal with those issues as we go along. We are not quiet about it. I guarantee you that people in the Northern know all about what you're talking about because we have really good media on both ends of the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. And now we are ready for closing statements of 3 minutes each. And Chris, you're up.
I want to start off my closing with areas of change that I have already spoken about my whole campaign, but was the primary focus of my administration. I will enhance school safety, build a better and stronger and capable drug task force. I will rebuild the trust and partnership within the community. Again, I will host community roundtables to get the input of the people whom we serve. I will leverage new and improved technologies to make it easier for our citizens to communicate with their sheriff's office. I will be a working sheriff, active in his community, side by side with my deputies. I will reconnect and rebuild the relationship with the citizens and their sheriff's office. Adam Shepard has had 2 terms, 8 years to prove himself to the citizens of Gila County, and he has failed tremendously. If he has not proven himself after 8 years, what is another 4 years going to do but just make things worse? Adam Shepard's time in office is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different or different outcome or a different result. I will bring the much needed change to the Gila County Sheriff's Office from the top down. I will bring transparency and accountability to the Sheriff's Office. I will do this by conducting a full financial audit of the Sheriff's Office, including staff and policy and procedure review. I will do this and have this completed within the first 6 months of taking office. I will keep the citizens informed and a part of their Sheriff's Office. Gila County, the time is here, the time is now. Let's do something other than the status quo or the normal, or it's the same old, same old. Vote Benny for sheriff. Thank you.
And we'll close with you, Adam. 3 minutes.
Okay, are you ready, Shirley?
Yeah.
Well, yes, okay. I think we've been going over a lot of things tonight. I told you a little bit about myself. Most of you know that I have been here for the 2 terms. Contrary to what Chris says, I think that our administration here has proven ourselves. We have done the things that the citizens have needed. We have worked on projects, taken us a long time to do things to keep you informed about what's going on in your community and your sheriff's office. So it's been a long, hard road. I can tell you that there's not a bundle of money any place sitting around out there to do those things with. You have to plan for them, and you have to work on them a little bit at a time. I forgot one of the most important things in the whole wide world when I opened up today, and that was my children that we raised here in Gila County and my 3 grandchildren. Yay me, I'm a grandparent of 3. They're the love of my life. We have one that was just born a few weeks ago, hopefully getting out of the hospital here pretty soon because she was a preemie. And going to add to the tribe a little bit, and I'm going to continue on with with being the grandpa. My wife is in the audience. Most of you folks locally know her. She's kind of a local, known person by where she works and where she has worked in the past. And everything that I am or have ever been and will ever be, I owe. Now she's holding her hand over her face. I owe to her because, she's encouraged me to do this stuff and to, when I came to her that 2 terms ago and said, there's been some folks that come to me and ask to run for the office, and it's going to take a lot of commitment. You're going to take a lot of things that you're going to have to feel because people know who you are, and she's been supportive 100%. So if I could, when we're done, if I could just give her a little bit of that clap and when we're done, because I always forget to say something about her when she's in the audience, and I want to make sure and take care of that tonight. My contact information, 928-595-2860. I've been giving you that number all along. Some of you have called me on things. I'm more than happy to speak to folks directly. www.voteadamshepard.com is my official campaign website where you can learn a little bit more about me or have other contact. My Facebook page is Adam Shepard for Sheriff. I encourage you to get with me. If you have questions, if you have any problems, let me know. At least you will know this side of the story. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Tea Party. Thank you to the church for giving us a spot to do that. We appreciate it. Right, Chris?
Like Adam said, let's go ahead and give our spouses the credit right now.
Yay, spouses.
Thank you.
All right.